But I'm gonna look for my highs and lows, walk down the line first, fix those, and then the rest of them I'm gonna float right to it. I'm not gonna use, only one time am I gonna check 12 inches down the line. Just walk down it one time and find out where your highs and lows are. That's it. Because what's more important is that we're parallel with the post behind me than if we're level. Because if that post is off a fraction, I wanna match that fraction so Mrs. Homeowner comes outside doesn't say, something don't look right. You're right, something's not right. Let's talk about this real quick, right? So this is the X-Men. I'm gonna have them use it today. Generally, they got two guns set up.
We don't have to.
Okay. Generally, it's two guns. One guy on the right, one guy on the left. They hold the rails up and they nail them. We recently had a guy in Florida. We had two guys nailing up on either side. We had a guy in Florida. The gun got jammed with sand into the safety and literally turned over and shot the other guy through the elbow with a 3 1/4 inch nail, right? So it could happen. He wasn't even near the guy. Okay, so it was just one of those things. So by decreasing the liability between there, and then goes back to what I talked about earlier was time, two guys are not twice as fast as one guy, as you'll see. So we made this up, which a guy can make this out of 2x4s, fine. You can make your own wood jig, but it's gonna get broken, that truck, before they get the next job. You're gonna make it again, make it again, make it again. Pretty soon you're spending 5-10 minutes every job, make a jig, and you're gonna stop doing it. They might make the jig wrong one time, and then the whole fence is railed wrong because he messed up. So this is one of our final prototypes of the X-Men. So it'll hang on the posts like that. These right here hold the rails. You gotta remember that this side would already be railed up. So I'll nail that, pick my next rail up, put it up, put it up, put it up. So they're all spaced. I can cut these, pull this X-Men off and move to the next section. So one guy can safely run the rails, setting them up with one nail gun without a partner next to him. And generally, about a minute a section is on average for a guy to run the rails, cut the rails, get everything trimmed, go to the next section. So very easy process to repeat over and over and over, and safe, and something that we can teach. I mean, it's real easy to pick, hook, you can't mess it up. It's just. So like I was saying earlier, a guy is good at backsighting can sight all these posts in without the rails. Just like Mark was probably doing over here with a marker, okay? But to teach that and practice that and become very good at that is a period of time, depending on the individual, how they get good at it. What I mean by connecting the dots, I said earlier today, by putting these rails up and connecting the top of all the posts, everyone here can clearly see how uneven that is. Anybody, the homeowner can come out and say, that doesn't look right. And then we're able to teach, by getting to a perspective point, somewhere in this area here, I can really see the inconsistencies and start to figure out what the highs and lows are. We first move those, and then we make the rest of them flow to it. It's more important that it looks good to the eye than it is any mathematical or tape measure. It needs to look right. That's more important than anything else. So, like everything else, we've tried to make this simple. The height of the bottom rail here to the virgin soil is by design to be 12 inches. 12 inches is what it's supposed to be. It will give you a 1 inch gap under the fence. So if you're at 13, you know you're at a 2 inch gap under the fence. And if you're at 11, you know you're on the ground. So by knowing that 12 inches is really easy for these guys to remember, when I walk this line to find my highs and lows, I just look by the post. I'm 12 1/4. I know this post is about right. But if I come to this one, it's 12, 10. And by eye, you can tell this one's low, right? But I'm gonna look for my highs and lows, walk down the line first, fix those, and then the rest of them I'm gonna float right to it. I'm not gonna use, only one time am I gonna check 12 inches down the line. Just walk down it one time and find out where your highs and lows are. That's it. So I know this one here is at 12. I know it's a good point. No different than Mark did. He had a point to shoot to. I know this is a good reference point to shoot to, this post. So I need to make from the first one to that one flow, and from this one to my next low or high flow. With the goal being, any hill I have, I want to be 11, and any dip I have, I want to be at 13. All right, so I did not use a level, and I didn't back nail, and we don't use a level. Because what's more important is that we're parallel with the post behind me than if we're level. Because if that post is off a fraction, I want to match that fraction so Mrs. Homewood comes outside doesn't say, something don't look right. You're right, something's not right. But if these pickets are parallel, look at this right here with this post, I can gently make, if it's off a fraction, so if anything, it needs to go uphill, guys, right? Just a touch. Now it's on the money. So gentle pressure, I know I'm level. The number one problem we have with vinyl fence is it blowing apart, really, like blowing out. That's most often the issue you have. If you lock all these together, that panel cannot blow, this cannot blow apart. It cannot come out of that rail. It's how hard it is to get it out of that rail. So our next weakest link is coming out of the post. And you'll see when we finish, we put rail locks on top to prevent the rail from coming out. So then the next weakest link is the post. The post will kink over at ground level before this will ever come apart. And that's why driving post, steel post solves that. So that fence down there would probably withstand 150 plus mile an hour winds and not blow apart down there. And we've able to pay for all these technologies by getting rid of the steel insert. So I had more sagging and drooping of panels with the old stuff that had the aluminum in it than I do with this. I don't have anything with this. But this is more difficult to put together. We built a fence for a customer, and it was within a couple of days. We had straight line winds and a tornado come through. And they have security cameras on their house. So they have video of this entire fence within seconds, like 3 seconds. It went all the way to the ground over here. The post touched the ground. All the way back to the ground over here and went boom, 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 but stayed intact. And I showed up and it was all intact because we had this technology, and the rail locks from the top that wouldn't let the rail come out. So the weakest link was the post. But the repair for insurance was, high dollar, but it took us 4 hours to replace the whole fence. All thing we did was come back with aluminum post stiffeners with the footings were in the ground, cut them off, drop the stiffeners in there, drop new post on, popped it together. Like that, right? The footings were not hurt at all. So when we first started building vinyl fence, 1993 was the first one I ever did, and they told us we had to fill the post with concrete. We had to mix up concrete, wet mixed concrete. We took an orange traffic cone, cut the top off, put it upside down, got a ladder, and dumped wet concrete in the top. They said duct tape the holes around the rail and all this crap so it doesn't dribble out, and fill it with concrete, then slide a piece of rebar down in there, right? That's a lot of concrete. That's a lot of weight, okay? We had settling issues big time. Now you have a 400-pound freaking post that's just, it's its own worst enemy. It's settling, right? And then it has no expansion contraction. So in other words, the posts were getting blown out as the concrete froze, expanded, water gets in between the concrete and the cap. This post is 1, 2, 4, 6, 8 inches in the ground, and that ground freezes and heaves, and the driven post is 4 foot in the ground and doesn't heave. We have a disagreement. Yeah. Like post is going this way, post going this way, right? Something's going to give.
One's not moving and the other one's moving.
One must move. So we just started doing this. I don't have winners of evidence, but I do have people in Alaska and Canada and Washington have been doing this forever. Well, they've got frozen ground, but there's a difference. I think their frozen ground is like frozen all season.
Well, he wouldn't frozen
we have this cycle of froze thaw, froze thaw, froze thaw, froze, and that's jack, 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 jack. The evidence is in the fences. You can drive down the road and see fences look like that. And I promise you, they weren't that way. They weren't that way when they got done. Yeah. Blow in there won't allow this to bounce off. So when I hit it, I can hit it flat. I'm gonna go drive that one down there. So I'm not pulling it back up. You see the one is high? Hey Jeremy, you want to tell me where to go, or Colin? I promise if you try to use a regular sledgehammer, that wouldn't have got moved like that. Y'all agree? You're gonna have times where you have to follow the grade this tight because your customer has a dog. And so if I start back there and end up off the ground here, Fido's getting out. I get what you're saying about a gentle roll, but a lot of times in the residential world, you gotta follow grade better.
And you can't adjust grade.
Right, I can't adjust grade. So we're gonna put this together with this steep grade just for the sake of showing you the trouble we're gonna have. This is not going to, that top rail is not gonna be very easy to get in here. Hey, come on this side.
Let's imagine if it's a little bit shorter.
Come here, on this side. I'm gonna show everybody what you're doing. He's showing two people over there. So a couple of things have happened here. This was meant to be a full section, but because of the grade, he had to shorten the section. Those of you that were around when we put it in, I told him make sure you held that section in. And it's just because of the grade. At a diagonal, more of that rail at the top comes in and less at the bottom, but we got a notch that's holding the rail in there. So we have to shorten the section to go up a grade. If you don't remember that, if you don't do it that way, this won't fit. It makes for a bad day, especially when you have all those set. And now this one won't fit. All that has to get pulled up and everything has to get pulled this way. So pay attention to grade changes. You have to draw this thing together. The proof in the pudding is this picket now will not fit. That's how much we pulled it in. I pulled it in a good 3/4 of an inch to make the system fit, right? Did you get your saw?
Yeah, that one's aggressive.
So normally, this is not what we normally use. Normally use a wood blade, turn around backwards. Works great. Doesn't chip it up. This is probably gonna be exciting because it might just rip right through this thing. Not terrible. Pretty close, wasn't there? There's no chocolate on there. Nice try. Here's another tip. When you have a cut edge like this, it's a real pain in the butt to get in that U-channel. So start at the top and slide it down like this. Get so far. Now I'm not locked in the groove yet, but I'm better off pulling this out and pop it in like that than if I would have tried to pop it in the groove in the tongue first and try to feed it in this U-channel. You would have been here for 15 minutes trying to do that. Get that mallet. Oh, I got it.
What mallet?
Right here. So this is where I think it's going to, what happens is, because of the grade, these pickets are going to hit that rail because of the steepness of the grade. As you follow that, so sometimes you have to come through and cut all these on a steep grade, which we're probably going to do on this one. Those of you who were here earlier, I notched this rail hole out, up, and I notched that one down in a hope to get this to fit on without cutting those pickets. Nope. All right, so see what's happening. This won't come down to fit in that hole. And I imagine from where you are, it probably looks like it does this. And that's because every one of those is hitting that middle rail. So you have a couple options. I've had guys take that middle rail and cut it with a circular saw. Then the picket will just gently push up in the middle of it. It's quick, because cutting every one of these is not easy either. And I've had guys cut too much off. Really what you want to do is cut from here to here. And that rail will pop right in. That's another option. The other option is to hold that post for me for a minute. They don't come out very easy. The other option is this. Not saying may not be the best option, but you could take another notch out of this with this tool, and then that rail will go in. Only downfall is you're going to see a little gap right here, right, by notching that out. The bow you saw in it earlier is because I notched the bottom of this and not the top. If I would have notched the top of this, that rail wouldn't have bowed like that, because it's only going to get worse. I could take another bite out of that, I'll get it to fit, but that hole is going to get worse. All right, so the other option is that's dry set. And it still wasn't enough. Sometimes you can do what you're talking about. If I grade this up, grade that one up, you'll get this to go in, right?
Yeah, if you dry this one down, you get more on it.
I agree with you 100%.
Whenever you dry a couple of them, you gotta go back and forth.
Let's see if I can move it. I'm not going to do that. See if we can move this guy. That's an Evo 3 right there. Coming soon. Yep.
Like the drum set.
So the goal was to straighten out that rack, either raise or lower, to get that to go in there. The transitions are tough. They can spend 5 times as much time to do this panel as that one.
More than that.
Or more. So when you're bidding and estimating the job, and you see this, you need to be thinking about that's the equivalent of 5 sections in labor. Does that make sense? What's that? Just getting warmed up.